A big break. Republicans breaking with Trump on Epstein. House GOP leaders bracing tonight for a significant number of Republican defections. Republicans going to break from Trump and support a bipartisan bill calling for the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files. Trump not helping his cause here, ignoring questions today about why his name appears in newly released Jeffrey Epstein emails thousands of times.
Sir, any response to the Epstein emails that mention your name?
Silence. But it was thousands of times his name was included in new emails. And those emails, by the way, are only a fraction of the actual, still unreleased Epstein files, which all leads to the most basic, fundamental question. It is a glaring question. Why is Trump acting like a person desperately trying to hide something? After all, when Trump didn't have the power to release the Epstein files, he said he was all for them being made public.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would. I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
Well, he's got a big problem with it. He now has the power to follow through. And now, instead, he's called the whole situation a hoax again and again and again and again and again. He said that anyone supporting the files release is engaged in a quote-unquote hostile act to his administration. And he said that any Republican willing to vote for the files release is dumb and stupid. Why? It makes absolutely no sense. And we're not the only ones asking these questions. Listen to MAGA stalwart Megyn Kelly.
Why didn't Trump just release these? Just release them. Just release them, right? Like now he's in the position of being like singled out as the only one, allegedly, as opposed to one of a slew of names. The Democrats, of course, are going to make a ton of hay over it. And I don't know that there's any there whatsoever, but I concede that they sound bad. They don't sound good.
And what she's talking about there is just that 20,000 pages of emails, right, that include Trump's name thousands of times. They make it sound like Epstein and Trump were very close for a very long time. Now, we know there was a period of time that they were essentially best friends. Many have described them that way to us. But even a whole decade after Trump said he dumped Epstein from Mar-a-Lago for being a, quote, creep, these emails were being sent around. A lot of really important people still going to Epstein for advice about Trump. One example is in June of 2018, weeks before Trump's first big official summit with Putin. Epstein emails a former top European official offering help, writing, quote, I think you might suggest to Putin that Lavrov can get insight on talking to me. Vitaly Churkin used to, but he died. Now, Churkin had been the longest serving Russian ambassador to the United Nations. Kristen Holmes is at the White House to begin our coverage tonight. And Kristen, something that, months ago, certainly at the beginning of the summer, right, when Trump denied that his own DOJ had told him his name was in the Epstein files, a day that he probably didn't think would ever come. House GOP seeming to flee from him. Leaders there bracing for a big number of Republicans to break from Trump, vote to release the Epstein files. How concerned is Trump about this?
Well, the White House is watching it very closely. I mean, what we know right now is that Speaker Johnson today essentially did a reverse course. The White House and the Speaker's office have been working together to try and stop this bill from actually being taken up for a vote. Then all of a sudden you see Speaker Johnson saying that he's going to expedite it. It's going to be brought to the floor as early next week. We are told that President Trump and Speaker Johnson discussed this together, and essentially it was made clear to the president by both Speaker Johnson as well as several advisors that this was the inevitable, that this had to move forward and that there was no reason in stopping it, just get it over with. And President Trump seems to have conceded that idea. So while you're hearing him say these things about people being dumb or going against the wishes of the administration, there is a really real belief here at the White House that this is going to pass through the GOP House. Now, of course, the big question is what happens then when it lands in the GOP-led Senate? Yeah. What is the White House going to do? Are they going to take issue with senators? Are they going to personally whip senators? And I'm told that a decision has not yet been made on what their strategy is going to be once they do believe that this passes through the House and lands in the Senate, because there is also a resignation, an understanding among many White House officials that there's really not much they can do to stop this momentum, that there are senators as well as House members who have said that this is something they want, and it is going to be something that they vote to move forward forward, the release of these documents. So again, the White House is watching all of this very closely. That will then lead to, if it does pass in the Senate, this landing on President Trump's desk. And I'm told that that's not even part of the discussion right now. All the discussion is what they're going to do in the next steps when this goes through the House, which they believe that it will. I have talked to a number of his allies, people on the outside who have defended President Trump for years, who support him, who still support him. But a lot of them sound like Megyn Kelly. They have a lot of questions as to why the White House is not getting ahead of this. One reason I'm told is that President Trump himself is dictating all of the response to this. And that is part of the reason that you're seeing it as a much more reactive response, because that is what he wants.
Yeah, well, and it is, of course, something when people take a step back and say, why would anyone not want to put out the files of a pedophile and who knew and who aided and who participated, right? I mean, people don't want to be on the wrong side of that one, and it's obvious the right side. Kristen, thank you very much. As we, I think Kristen pointing out the crucial question, right? What will happen if it gets through the Senate and gets to Trump's desk? Well, Stacey Williams is out front now. She is a former Sports Illustrated model who dated Epstein in the early 1990s. She was one of the first people to come on this show and make it clear that Epstein and Trump, in your words, Stacey, were quote unquote best friends. And so many others, after you said that, talked about the closeness of their relationship over many years. We heard it again and again from others who knew them after you spoke. And Stacey also went public in 2024 with accusations that Trump groped her in 1993 in front of Epstein at Trump Tower. Allegations, of course, Trump has denied. Stacey, I really appreciate your taking the time and coming on tonight. Obviously, the Epstein files are one thing, and they're still under lock and seal. These emails, though, from the Epstein estate that include Trump's name in them thousands of times have gotten even more GOP members to say it's time for them to jump ship with Trump on this one and vote for the release of the files. Did you ever think you'd see this happen?
That Republicans are supporting the release of the files?
Yeah.
Well, we've had a few, right? I've never understood the sort of the role of legislative officials in protecting pedophiles. I didn't think that was part of the job criteria. So it's been very confusing to me. But if some of them are finally arriving at some moral clarity, that's a good thing. Transparency is critical. And I was quite shocked to hear the White House say yesterday that they're being fully transparent after dragging a member of Congress there to get her to pull back her vote on releasing the Epstein files. It's condescending to the American people, and it is cruel and damaging to the Epstein survivors.
Yes, and I know you're obviously talking about Lauren Boebert there, who has remained steadfast in her decision to vote for the release of the files.
I commend her. Yes.
Yeah, under incredible pressure.
Yeah.
In the emails that we have, and again, every time I say that, I just want to distinguish that these emails are from the estate, so they are Epstein files or something different. But the emails themselves reveal a lot of information, Stacey. They talk about the close relationship, wingman type relationship that Trump and Epstein had, which you've talked about when you talked about how they were best friends during the time that you knew them. This is a video I'm showing of from NBC that shows Trump and Epstein at a party in Mar-a-Lago. It's all the way back in 1992, an important year for you, Stacey, because that's the year you met Epstein. And what they're doing in that video is watching women on the dance floor, and Trump appears to say to Epstein, she's hot, referring to a woman. They're then pointing fingers. Now, in one of the emails that we have in the context of that video, Epstein says he gave Trump one of his girlfriends. He writes, my 20-year-old girlfriend in 93 that after 2 years I gave to Donald. Now, by the way, you met him in 1992. When you see that, though, in this email in black and white, I quote unquote gave to Donald. What's your reaction?
I mean, it screams about, the mindset of these men. The same two men who did what they did to me when Jeffrey Epstein walked me into Donald Trump's office to be groped by him. Clearly, we are these objects, these trophies, and it's deeply misogynistic.